It's hard to imagine it now. London, the city of glowing lights and bustling streets, was once a freezing gray labyrinth every winter during the Victorian era. Back then, winter wasn't a season, it was a threat. Between 1837 and 1901, the cold crept into every corner of London. The fog thickened into a yellow blanket of smoke, the wind sliced through layers of clothing, and for thousands living in cramped, dark rooms, the question wasn't, will the winter be cold, but will we survive it? Wealthy families fought the cold with endless fires. Their fireplaces burned like guardians that were never allowed to sleep. Servants added coal every hour, knowing that if the flame died, the temperature inside the house could drop to freezing before the next morning. But most Londoners didn't live in large houses with polished fireplaces. They lived in tiny rooms where a single iron stove glowed weakly in the corner. Children slept around it like petals around a flower, hoping the warmth would hold until dawn, and sometimes it didn't. When coal became too expensive, Londoners burned anything they could find. Broken pieces of furniture, scraps of wood, even old shoes. The smell was harsh and bitter, but it meant survival. Outside, the winter brought something even more frightening than cold, the infamous fog. A thick, poisonous mixture of smoke and mist rolled through the streets and swallowed entire neighborhoods. People called it a pea souper because it was so dense that you could lose sight of your own hand. Light faded, the air tasted like ash, and lungs filled with soot. Carriage drivers, chimney sweeps, street vendors, anyone who worked outdoors walked through the fog like ghosts, coughing into scarves that offered little protection. Many developed lung diseases before they were even 30. Yet they pushed forward because working meant warmth, and warmth meant life. Food became its own battle. Forget feasts, roasts, or steaming soups. Most winter meals were simple, plain, and cheap. Bread, potatoes, porridge, and a weak cup of tea. Meat was a luxury reserved for holidays, if that. Families ate whatever warmed them from the inside, believing that high-starch meals heated the blood. Whether it actually did or not didn't matter, because it was all they had. On the coldest nights, soup kitchens filled with desperate families who gathered around a single pot of hot broth. For many children, that bowl of soup was the only warm thing they experienced that day. Clothing became armor. Victorians layered wool, cotton, and flannel over their bodies not for fashion, but for survival. Children wore whatever their older siblings outgrew. Women stitched rags into the lining of their dresses. Men wrapped newspapers around their legs for insulation. Mothers believed that if a child shivered, the winter took a piece of him. So they layered whatever scraps they could find, even if it meant tearing old blankets into strips. Yet, in the middle of all this hardship, something remarkable happened. People came together. Families shared firewood when they barely had enough for themselves. Neighbors slept in the same room to conserve heat. Children gathered around the single public stove in community halls. During snowstorms, the streets didn't echo with panic, but with footsteps, people checking on one another, offering help, carrying water, or pulling sleds of firewood. In the poorest neighborhoods, survival was collective. Winter was never fought alone. Meanwhile, across the city, a different world existed. The wealthy enjoyed winter festivities, ice skating, warm drinks, cozy Christmas feasts, and cozy rooms with fireplaces in almost every corner. But even their luxuries couldn't shield them completely. Winter illnesses spread quickly. Influenza, pneumonia, bronchitis, none of them cared how rich someone was. Death visited every home, just more frequently in some than in others. As the century progressed, London slowly changed. New heating stoves appeared, insulation improved, gas lighting brightened the streets, and charities organized large-scale relief efforts. The city learned to fight winter with new tools, new systems, and new hope. But the memory of those brutal winters never faded. To survive winter in Victorian London required more than warm clothes or a steady fire. It demanded resilience, ingenuity, and the comforting presence of neighbors who refused to let each other face the cold alone. Today, when we turn on a heater with the push of a button or close a window sealed against the wind, we rarely think of the people who once fought the winter with nothing but determination and a stove that sometimes wasn't strong enough. Their story is a reminder that comfort wasn't always guaranteed. It was earned through hardship, through endurance, and through the courage of thousands of forgotten Londoners who refused to surrender to the cold. Winter tested them every year, but they rose with every storm, because in that era, survival wasn't a choice, it was a way of life.